Have you noticed that walking out of the grocery store lately feels like a minor financial crisis? Since 2020, the cost of basic food items, things like eggs, bread, and milk, has jumped about 25%. And while those totals at the register keep climbing, most of our paychecks have stayed exactly where they were. Buying groceries used to be a mundane weekly chore. Now it feels like a luxury expenditure. When we ask why this is happening, we usually hear the same familiar excuses. We are told to point the finger at abstract, uncontrollable forces. They claim it's inflation, it's global supply chain issues, it's bad weather affecting crops. But what if those high prices aren't a natural weather pattern at all? Think of it like a thermostat in your house. What if the heat is going up because someone behind the scenes is intentionally dialing it up? Now, let's be fair. A few years ago, there were genuine logistical nightmares. We all remember the empty shelves and the panic of not finding what we needed. The shipping containers were stuck and the system broke down. Eventually, the ports reopened, shipping containers moved, the logistical crisis ended. And yet, as the global supply chain smoothed out, the cost of food at the register stayed high. During that period of public uncertainty, the price of our groceries reached a new baseline that simply never returned to normal. The supply chain explanation has outlived the actual problems. It suggests a deeper question about who is actually in control of these prices. Walk down any aisle in a modern supermarket, and you are surrounded by options. There are roughly 40,000 distinct items on those shelves, all screaming for your attention. This creates what we call the supermarket illusion. All those different colors, mascots, and catchy brand names trick us into believing we are standing in a fierce, competitive free market. But if you flip those boxes over and follow the money, the competition vanishes. Hundreds of these seemingly independent brands are quietly owned by just a handful of massive parent companies. If you get mad at one brand and switch to another, there is a good chance your money is going to the exact same bank account. You can't vote with your wallet when the same corporation owns all the candidates. To really see the problem, we have to leave the grocery store and look at the raw ingredients that make up almost everything we eat. We are talking about things like wheat, corn, and soy. Trade for basic crops is dominated by the ABCD cartel. 4 companies control 90% of the global grain trade. Because grain flows through them, they squeeze the system from both ends, paying farmers little and charging food manufacturers premium prices. By monopolizing the literal seeds and grains that sustain life, these 4 giants act as a mandatory toll booth for the entire global food system. Everyone else just pays the fee. We see this exact same choke point over at the meat counter. Let's look at a staple of the American dinner table, ground beef. You might picture thousands of independent ranchers supplying your local store. The reality is that just 4 massive corporations control roughly 80% of all the beef processed in the United States. The ranchers raise the cattle, but they have to send them to these corporate packing plants. Because these 4 giants own the processing step, they can intentionally slow down production. Less meat goes to the stores, overall supply drops, and your price goes up. When 4 companies dictate exactly how much beef reaches the public, that stops functioning like a competitive market. It operates like a modern-day cartel. This brings us back to the prices we see today. Economists have a specific word for what happens when companies use broad economic anxiety to mask their own price hikes: greedflation. This chart shows how it works. The bottom line shows the steady rise in the price you pay for food. But look at the top line. While families struggled, the profit margins for these monopolies violently spiked into record-breaking territory. And then there is their quietest tactic: shrinkflation. Instead of alarming you with a higher price tag, they keep the price exactly the same, but secretly shrink the physical size of the box. You pay the same amount of money for fewer meals. The constant financial pressure at the grocery checkout is the inevitable result of a system where a few monopolies write the rules for everyone else. Seeing the illusion for what it is, a deliberate choice by those in power, is the first